Tonight, a man is dead after being shot and killed outside a Dollar General. It happened on Woodward and Manchester in Highland Park just after 5 p.m. 7 Action News reporter Allie Hoxie is live outside Dollar General right now. Allie, what do we know about this deadly shooting so far?
Well, right now, police are not saying or still investigating the circumstances around this deadly shooting that happened right across the street from the police station at this Dollar General. We're told there is someone in police custody, and right now police need witnesses to come forward if they saw anything.
A woman was shot outside of a Dollar General store. Now the gunman is behind bars.
Police say 2 gunmen walked into the Dollar General on Fairmont Parkway last night looking for one thing: cash.
A tough night for clerks at 2 different Dollar General stores. Overnight, someone robbed both of the stores.
So one man is dead after someone shot him outside the store.
You probably live near a Dollar General. How long do you think it would take you to get to it? 5 minutes? Well, for 75% of Americans, that is exactly the case. There are 16,500 Dollar General stores in 46 states. For comparison, Walmart has only 4,700 stores in the United States. The chain has proven to be more than resistant to recessions and pandemics, thanks to its strangely convenient supply of everything one might need, from cigarettes to kitchen supplies. Dollar General has also been a magnet for crime. One Google search for Dollar General arrest will summon pages upon pages of news stories covering theft, break-ins, and even murder. The shots shown previously were simply a few of the many cases reported throughout the past decade. In a 2020 Business Insider article, the Gun Violence Archive had noted that there have been more than 50 deaths at Family Dollar and Dollar General stores since 2017, despite residing in mostly smaller neighborhoods. In Dayton, Ohio, Dollar General stores accounted for 29% of robberies in 2019. What prompted the large spike in crime surrounding these stores? And first of all, what prompted the sudden appearance of these stores across the nation? Like always, before we dive in further, we'll need to take it back. The story of Dollar General begins back in the 1920s. James Luther Turner, who had dropped out of school at the age of 11 to manage his family's farm, eventually took a job as a dry goods salesman in Nashville. In 1929, he moved to Scottsville and opened a bargain store. As the country entered the Great Depression, Turner began to buy out bankrupting stores, liquidating their inventory. Whatever he couldn't liquidate, he would sell in his bargain store. He would involve his son, Carl, in his work, introducing him to the business from a very young age. In 1939, the economy had begun to stabilize. Because of this, Carl and James each put up $5,000 to begin a wholesale shop to sell goods to local retailers still in business around the Scottsville area. The store would go on to be known as J.L. Turner & Son, and it was from here which Dollar General would be born. Following the lull in business onset by World War II, there was a surge in production of various items now available at low prices. The father and son duo managed to get a great deal on a huge supply of women's underwear. However, they weren't able to sell it to any of their partnered retailers, simply because those retailers were struggling to sell the inventory they already had. Because of this, the Turners decided to set up smaller stores with local businessmen to sell their inventory surplus. At the time, some local stores were having promotional dollar days, where everything in the store was $1. Noting how popular this was with customers, Carl and James made their junior stores follow this format year-round. They continued to buy cheap inventory to maintain their business model. Once, after purchasing a truckload of wet socks, Carl had their workers hang up each sock individually to allow them to dry in the warehouse. When 35,000 discounted fruitcakes were purchased at the end of the holiday season, Carl sat on them for a year and sold them for a profit a year later. In 1955, they converted one of their stores into a Dollar General, despite still using the name J.L. Turner & Son. In 1968, the company went public as Dollar General Corporation. With growth comes trouble, though, and now we can discuss the high cost of their low prices.
Who says a dollar won't buy much anymore?
A dollar's still a dollar at the Dollar General store. Folks from every part of town come for bargains that are found at the Dollar General store. Who says a dollar won't buy much anymore? Every day is Dollar Day at the Dollar General store.
Shopping us first just makes a whole lot of sense.
As can be expected with the owners of a discount chain, Dollar General sought to cut corners as often as possible. The company would seek out cheap property. If you pay close attention to your local Dollar General, you'll perhaps be able to see it for what it once was, be it a video store or a mom-and-pop shop or even a Walmart Express back when those were a thing. The locations were often rural too, wherever the lowest possible price could be found. Dollar General also saves money by being selective about its inventory. According to Business Insider, the company only stocks around 10,000 unique items, compared to Walmart, which will typically have 60,000. This in turn allows Dollar General to buy in bulk, which is as close to dirt cheap as you can get as a franchise. The cost cutting didn't stop there. Typically, a store with such low inventory only needs 2 team members, and if business is slow, it can sometimes get by with only 1. In the past, wages were not to exceed 5% of the store's revenue, which placed their pay at the bottom of the bottom. It goes without saying that the company was also opposed to unionizing. When word got around that a bookkeeper met with a local unionizer, Carl Sr. promptly had her fired. When Teamsters tried to organize the company's truck drivers, Dollar General decided to instead outsource contractors to drive their vehicles, and went as far as to hire armed guards to protect the hires from protesters. I guess you gotta spend money to make money, right? Dollar General and stores like it began to grow rapidly throughout the later part of the 20th century, and their income reflected it. As Walmart has become more selective of their locations, going as far as to close down 20 stores over the course of 2019, small towns and rural areas have become increasingly dependent on bargain stores. The cycle continues this way, as Dollar General infiltrates the lower income neighborhoods and other corners of the nation outside of the grasp of big box stores. Historically, franchises are best known for eradicating businesses surrounding them, and Dollar General is no exception. In many parts of America, Dollar Generals are within miles of each other, once having been the mom-and-pop shops they competed with. These stores undercut their competition significantly, providing better savings and selection, yet hiring just barely enough employees to run them. An article by ProPublica.org used Dayton, Ohio as an example. 11 stores exist just minutes from each other, each having overrun the smaller stores that once occupied these areas. In 2017, there were 32 armed robberies at 18 different Dollar General and Family Dollar stores in Dayton. Dayton police officers receive over 1,000 calls from such stores on a yearly basis. The causation of this may seem simple. Poor communities see a rise in crime due to wealth inequality. The stores nearby are Dollar Generals, so they'll be the first ones to get robbed, right? Well, it isn't that simple. According to a report by the Institute for Local Self-Reliance, the stores are something of an invasive species among African American communities and neighborhoods under the poverty line. Frustration within communities doesn't solely happen due to the creeping consumerism disrupting their homes. The mess they bring with them also manifests itself in physical ways. Dollar Generals are historically messy. Their interiors are often extremely messy with merchandise that has yet to be unloaded, which blocks aisles and sometimes even emergency exits. Their exteriors offer little relief. In many cases, garbage cans are overflowing and broken glass litter parking spots. This goes hand in hand with the low staffing, as employees cannot be expected to clean, manage the cash register, unload stock, and maintain security all at once. Many researchers have noted the correlation between store upkeep and crime prevention. Criminologist professors George L. Kelling and James Q. Wilson have dubbed this the broken window theory, and when explaining it said the following: if a window in a building is broken and left unrepaired, all the rest of the windows will soon be broken. Essentially, a lack of cleanliness and a consistent state of disarray will almost always lead to crime if left untreated. In some areas, fire marshals have had to issue warnings. Dollar General has offered training to employees in the areas of security and safety, but because the turnover rate is so high, many employees are not able to pass this information down to their successors. However, this raises another question. Should they be expected to? The average pay of a Dollar General employee is roughly $8. With low pay and low staffing, I again feel the need to remind you that the workers are stretched too thin. It would be difficult to reasonably expect more than what they already are assigned on a regular basis. Sometimes employees do go beyond their call of duty of simply handing over money. In that same area of Ohio I previously discussed, a store manager had come to work with a gun on his hip. Dave Dukes, the manager in question, had asked for a security guard multiple times, but had not received one. Dukes was legally able to open carry in the state of Ohio, so he decided this would dissuade future robbers. He was wrong. On October 9th, 2019, Roosevelt Rapley came into his North Gettysburg store and held a gun to him. In response, Dukes shot him dead and called 911. Because he shot in self-defense, he was not charged. The next day, Dollar General fired him. It would be easy to say Dollar General was afraid of the negative press that would come with employing someone involved in a police report. But when requests for security are declined, what exactly is the corporation expecting? Dukes defended both the store and his co-workers that night, and instead of receiving praise, was immediately fired. Dollar General is simply more willing to lose their employees' lives than pay wages for security guards throughout their stores, plain and simple. The facts I've presented to you today are for you to decipher how you please. However, some cities across the United States have decided to use the information to take drastic measures. In 2018 and 2019, cities like Tulsa, New Orleans, and Birmingham, Alabama were just a few of the cities that passed legislation requiring dollar stores be at least 1 mile apart, unless selling a minimum of 1 square foot of fresh food. Although this is more symbolic than anything, it could play a massive role in the constant creeping of dollar stores infesting neighborhoods and communities. For some places, like Dayton with its 11 concentrated Dollar Generals, it is too late. But maybe it isn't too late for your neighborhood. I know it is for mine. I just wanted to say a big thank you to everyone who watched this video. Please comment, like, and subscribe if you like this kind of content and want to see some more. Obviously, I'm still trying to get used to doing this whole YouTube thing, so any feedback would really be appreciated. All of the clips and the news articles and everything like that, that's all included in the description below. The song playing right now, that's cited as well. You should go check that out because it is hilarious, and I love it. Anyway, see you later, guys, and take care. Dollar General, you ever have to ask the manager to return?